Hello, 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 this is Ben the Bold, and we are starting a brand new campaign in Imperator Rome today. That's right, we have gotten the Livy update of the game as well as the free Punic Wars. I guess it's a free LC. I think originally they wanted it to be a paid DLC, but Paradox did end up releasing it for free. I think is kind of a gesture of goodwill towards the community after so much pushback from their game, which I think they have come and made tremendous strides since the first version of the game to now. Well, I thought the Cicero update. I have not actually done much playing. I've opened it up, kind of messed around with it a little bit, but haven't actually done much playing with the new update of the game. Wanted to save my initial impressions for YouTube. So let's go ahead and get started. I think with this new game, what I am going to do is actually play the nation of Carthage. So I really debated a lot. I know I really want to play as a Germanic tribe. I thought that that would be my next area in the world to play after my two other campaigns finished. If you haven't checked those out, they're in the older version of the game, the Cicero update, but I did a very tall Sicily campaign where I just made a goal for myself not to expand off of the island of Sicily. And then I also did an Iceni Rises campaign where I actually took over most of the northern part of Europe. Both of those are up on YouTube. You can check them out if you want. I highly recommend it. But today we are playing a brand new version of the game, and because there is that Punic Wars DLC, I actually wanted to go ahead and play as one of the major characters in the Punic Wars, that being either Rome or Carthage. Now, I like the idea of playing as Rome too, because you start out as this little smaller nation, and you apparently get a bunch of missions, and the game incentivizes you, and hopefully the game will incentivize the AI to expand relatively rapidly. But then I didn't want to play as Rome because, well, I've played as Rome a lot, especially early on, and I haven't really played a ton as Carthage, just personally. And so I wanted to give them a try. I've wanted to give them a try for a while, and when I heard that there was going to be this Punic Wars DLC, I thought, alright, I'm going to hold off on playing as Carthage until the new DLC comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and play as Carthage. I'm going to go ahead and start up the game. I'm going to intentionally, of course we're going to play in Iron Man mode, I'm just going to name it Carthage. And here we go, the Sons of Tyre. An ancient and proud civilization, Carthage holds a firm grip on the southern coast of the Mediterranean. Numerous colonial dependencies lie in the thrall to the maritime giant dotted on the coast of Iberia and on the islands throughout the western parts of the sea. The seafaring heritage of the Carthaginians remains unparalleled, extending territorial and economic dominance far and wide. However, the island of Sicily has remained a constant thorn in the side of the Carthaginian hegemony for many decades. Agathocles, the self-styled tyrant of Syracuse, again, you should check out our very tall Sicily campaign. We play as Agathocles. He still reigns in the eastern part of the island, having secured a tentative peace with Carthage and prolonging Greek presence there. For the time being, further north, the young and uncivilized Italic states wage bitter war on one another, though there are rumors that a once insignificant state is emerging to challenge the balance of powers in Italy, and we will of course endure as Carthage. So I'm going to intentionally stay out of Italian affairs. We'll see. Ooh, Sicily has definitely seen some changes. That's exciting. Carthage owns a little bit less land, I believe, than it used to, and there are just a couple more other nations. That's fun. That's awesome. I'm going to intentionally stay out of Italy. We'll see what the game kind of demands we do in Sicily, but I'm at least not going to cross over into the boot until Rome is sufficiently powerful. Hopefully, fingers crossed, in the new update of the game, Rome will become a kind of a juggernaut, because what's the fun of a Rome game when Rome barely expands at all and they're easily conquered by Carthage or even by, some of these Gallic states. So let's go ahead, look right away. We have a brand new little button up here. We have this missions button. So I guess we have to choose, and I have paid attention to a lot of the dev diaries and everything, but still I am kind of going at this blind, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. I think we need to start a mission. So let's just go ahead and look at what we have. We have the aftermath of the revolution. After our disastrous war against Agathocles in Sicily, the traitorous Suffate Bomilcar. You'll have to forgive me, I'm terrible with the pronunciations in this game. That's just kind of the way this game is, though. Bomilcar tried to sell our lands to gain tyrannical power for himself. Many were led astray by his ideas and plans. Alright, so basically this mission will be considered complete when the lingering conflicts from Bomilcar's revolution have been resolved. Okay, so it doesn't give me a ton of information about what happens there. I don't even know kind of what direction it goes. Let's look at Pearl of Africa. Africa is our home as well as the center of our country. We must grow the economy of our home region and renovate the capital itself to make it the shining center of civilization that it deserves to be. Completion criteria. So this mission will be completed when we embellish our capital in Carthage, we increase the food supply, and we develop more maritime trade. All right, cool. I'm kind of liking the Pearl of Africa mission so far. And we have the matter of Numidia, excuse me. Our fortunes await in foreign lands. The Numidian region has been considered part of our borders, yet much of it remains beyond our control. Make sure that I believe that it should be that it is brought instead of that is, that it is brought under our influence one way or another. So this one I think is a pretty standard. We will have to conquer some Numidian territory. This mission will be considered complete when the entire region of Numidia is under Carthaginian influence. Let's, yeah, they've kind of changed this up. Let's go to the region map mode. Nope. Region map mode. So Numidia. So all of that would have to be under our control. I bet that would include the... Because I believe you are a... Yes, we are your overlord. You are a tribal vassal. So I would believe that that would count as under our control. Let's go ahead and go back to the kind of terrain map mode. So I think of the three, I think I'm going to go with Pearl of Africa first. I'm doing that because, well, it's always nice to have a nice, strong Carthage, of course. And, yeah, it just sounds like the one that's speaking to me the most right now, although all of these could be cool. I wonder how branching these story arcs are. For instance, if I finish Pearl of Africa, will I then be prompted to get a chance to do Matter of Numidia and then Aftermath of the Revolution? Or at that point, will I have whole new missions? I'm really excited to test out this mission system, both the Carthaginian mission trees, as well as maybe some of the even generic mission trees, because we haven't seen any of the generics yet. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to go with Pearl of Africa. Start mission. Oh, wow. And look how extensive this is. This is almost like a full EU4 mission tree. Alright, so let's see. This is very exciting. Alright, so first, we need to have farm estates built in all settlements producing food. And it's going to go ahead and highlight that for me in Africa. So... Go back to our regions map mode. I think I'm going to definitely want the region map mode. I was going to say instead of maybe the supply map mode, although honestly the supply map mode could be very, very important because in this new update of the game we have there's a lot to get into. Wow. We have a new unit called supply wagons or supply train, and well, apparently supply is a much bigger deal now, so I guess I will hold off on getting rid of that from the kind of shortcuts here. Let's look for regions again. There's regions. So yeah, it looks like we have to enhance this region, the African region. All right, perfect, cool. So if we build, that one looks to be pretty easy, especially since we have so much money to begin with. We just need to build farming estates in those three provinces, or those three territories. Easy. Growth of Thebreka. So here... Thebreka is the capital. All right, so basically we just have to turn this into a city as well as the provincial capital. Also fairly simple. And then the Mediterranean Sea Trade. Task basically all port territories in the sea, that province or that territory. has city status and is fortified. So I would just need to turn this into a city and fortify it. Alright, so I like this so far. I don't think it's too railroady. We'll have to see how railroady this feels. So far, I mean, it's giving me cool... Let's see what we would get in these. I would get a bunch of citizens. Okay, citizens are of course good. They help with my research ratio, which is currently really bad. If I come here, then I would get a couple slaves. I guess that's fine. And here I would get local monthly food modifier up by 20% until October 1st. Alright, so for 10 years, basically, whenever that happens. So, let's go ahead, and I think, because this one is relatively easy to do, I think I'm just going to go ahead and build those farming estates. Alright, so that should, once those finish building, should give me the fruits of Musulamia? Sure. I'll pretend that that's how you pronounce that. Alright, and then, so that actually got rid of a quite hefty sum of my money. Whoops. So let's go ahead and just kind of do the standard thing. Let's deal with our unused trade routes. Anything... Ooh! This is fun. This is cool. I don't remember... Maybe I missed this in a dev diary, but I like this, where you can actually see where your trade routes are coming from. I very much like that. That is super cool. Sorry, I'm just very excited to finally get a chance to play the Livy update of the game, and I hope you are enjoying playing it too. Let me know if you are. Alright, so I could go ahead and get these gemstones. That would be local tax plus 20% in the capital. Or that would just be local tax plus 20%. Or I could go with cloth. Civilization value, papyrus, research points up by 20%. I think I'm actually going to do this first. Go ahead and trade that from Egypt. And then, let's see, what else am I importing currently? So I'm importing iron. I'm importing olives. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and cancel the importing of... I think I'm going to go ahead and cancel, yeah, the importing of olives. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab the gemstones as well. So right now we're going to rely pretty heavily... Actually, I can go back and just to this map mode. Right now we're going to rely, it looks like... Oh, wrong province. At least in Carthage itself, the province of Carthage, we are going to rely pretty heavily on imports from Egypt. So from those territories in Egypt. Ooh, I like how it actually points out the exact territory. It's not just a line that goes to Egypt. And then there's... Alright, very cool. Can I see that? Like if I click on Rome, I guess... Yeah, I can't see where they're getting their imports from. It would be cool if you could like blockade certain ports that would stop them from getting their trade resources, or, you know, if you knew that Rome was, if you could see where Rome was getting all of its iron from. I know that Rome has iron, so maybe a better example would be like elephants. If you noticed that the Romans were building a bunch of elephants, maybe you could intentionally try to cut off where they were getting their elephants from. That would be an interesting way to play the game. Alright, what's next? Let's go ahead and find an omen. I don't think we need to worry about food for now. Province loyalty is probably going to be fine. We could... Discipline is always good to get, although I don't necessarily know when I will be going to war soon. This is actually one of my first times just looking at the omens that we are getting with the Canaanite religion. So it looks like we get increased discipline, increased manpower recovery speed, which is great. National citizen output, which is probably what I'm going to go for first. National commerce income. Of course, national citizen output, that both helps us in research as well as commerce income, so that might be worth doing early and often. National commerce income is good. I do have a feeling that I'm going to be making a ton of money from commerce in this game. I would like to build Carthage up into a big trading hub. That's one of the reasons why I choose that Pearl of Africa mission early. monthly food modifier, that could be good. If I know that in the new update of the game, they promised once again that they would. We're kind of working on the problem that I started running into in both my Very Tall Sicily campaign as well as my Iceni Rises campaign, where my capital was just insanely large, but that really didn't translate to the rest of the country. And so if I wanted to build other big cities, then I kind of had to move a bunch of slaves around, and that got tedious. And so I ended up just having these super huge, cities in Syracuse and in Venta up here in the Iceni land. Ooh, it looks like city of Venta right there. So hopefully whenever I take slaves, they'll be more spread around the regions, or at least maybe just around my various cities, instead of all just being like kind of default going back to Carthage. I know they've tried to like update that a couple times at this point, and they promise to try it again. Province loyalty could be good for later in the game when I'm starting to worry about that, although right now I'm not. Ship damage done. I mean, I definitely am going to need to be a naval powerhouse, especially if I want to protect all my trade routes, right? So that could be useful, but I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to press that button unless I start to notice that I'm taking heavy losses on the seas. And then monthly tyranny down. Yeah, but there are some good and bad sides of having like high tyranny anyway. So, like, yeah, loyalty. Oh gosh, I'm having trouble remembering off the top of my head what are the upsides and downsides of tyranny, but I know it's not all good or all bad. So, I probably won't hit that unless I start noticing it just gets out of control. So let's go ahead and start with national citizen output up by 15.6%. We should also go ahead and look at our religion map mode. So, we own some territory out here, right? Yeah, so we'll need to start converting some of these kind of far-flung places that are not part of our Canaanite religious group. And of course we'll want to conquer everyone that is. So like these are Canaanite religious pops. We'll want to go ahead and conquer them probably pretty soon before they can be converted. Looks like everyone here in the island of Sardinia and Corsica, except for the one little Hellenistic enclave, they are Canaanite. So we'll want to go ahead and conquer all of you. Let's see, what else? Let's go ahead, free idea slots, we definitely want to, okay, interesting. So, I would have assumed that Carthage would have started out not as an aristocratic republic, but like as a plutocratic republic, because after all, they were very commerce and trade-minded back in the day, but it looks like we are an aristocratic republic, so that means we actually have 2 military idea slots and 1 oratory slot. So let's go ahead and grab morale of armies up by 10%. That's for sure. Reinforcement speed up by 10%, as well as army morale recovery. That's good, although with all of the boats that I'm planning to build, maybe it would be better to take shipbuilding costs down. The thing is, though, as Carthage, and at least in previous versions of the game, it's very, very easy to make just a ton of money, more money than you know what to do with. So in that case, like, shipbuilding costs maybe aren't as important. So I actually think, and if I start to notice that my economy is buckling under the cost of building a navy, not maintaining it, but just building a navy, then I'm going to go ahead and do ordered retreat. Now, if this was not ship building cost, but instead ship maintenance cost, then I think I would do it, because I start out the game with, what is that, 64 boats? That's not terrible. My 3 navies, 22, 21, 21. Yeah, that's 64, right? So, I think I'm going to go ahead and do ordered retreat. And then, finally, my oratory slot. I typically like to go early in the game with monthly general loyalty plus monthly admiral loyalty. Although, if I start out with a bunch of little, kind of city-states that are under me, for instance, yeah, you're a feudatory. So maybe it would actually behove me to instead do Hospitium, improve opinion maximum up 33.33%, or no, 33.0%. Yeah, so it's between these two. I think I'm still going to go ahead and lean towards the military administration. Just that little bit of extra general loyalty is very good. And so completing those 3 idea slots, that gives me access to monthly loyalty by up by 0.02. It looks like that's for everyone. That's fantastic. And then national freeman happiness up by 10%. I mean, happier pops are better pops, right? I should also take a look at the Carthaginian heritage. So our export value is up by 10. We get it boosted by 10%. And our naval maintenance cost is reduced by 10%. So that's great. Unfortunately, our troops have a increased chance of becoming loyal to their generals, which can be both good and bad in its own way, although the game certainly seems to think it's negative. It might mean that I have to deal with more powerful rebellions later on, but I'm going to do my best to not let things get too far out of control. Also, we should take a look at our military tradition. We are seafaring people, which means our shipbuilding cost is already minus 15%. So I'm actually kind of glad that I went ahead and didn't get that military idea, just because we already have a reduced shipbuilding cost. Again, I wish that this was more ship maintenance, naval maintenance, but alas. Let's check out, and I'm going through all these because, well, I don't necessarily think that the North African military traditions have been updated in the new version of the game. It's just, I have not personally played as Carthage much, so, well, at all, actually. Even though, like, Carthage is one of the empires that I'm most fascinated in real life. They had this huge, well, huge for the day, but this huge circular harbor that they maintain their like grand fleets out of, as well as their like merchant vessels. Apparently it was a sight to be seen. They fought Rome nearly to the breaking point, and we think of Rome as this like ultra powerful country. And I know at that point Rome was not near as big as it would later become. And in fact, one of the reasons that it indeed became so big is because it eventually took the lands of Carthage itself. But they fought Rome nearly to its breaking point, and Rome did a good job basically saying history will not remember you, and wiped Carthaginian, the Carthaginian Empire off of the face of the earth. And what is the old saying? Carthago delinda est. Like, they salted the fields, they destroyed the city, and the region really never recovered in the same way that a lot of the rest of Europe did. But yeah, for a while, North Africa was a bright spot in the ancient world. Both, of course, you had the Egyptians, but also in Carthage, potentially, if the Punic War had gone differently, there could have been a whole different center for culture in the Mediterranean world for, well, really up until the modern day. So it's always been like a huge fascination of mine. It's been a huge like historical, like what if type scenario. But I have not played it a ton in this game. Actually, I've not played it at all in this game. I've like kind of dilly-dallied around, but haven't actually, spent more than like 5 in-game years playing as Carthage. So let's look at our North African traditions. We have some light cavalry offense. Okay, cool, I guess. So this seems to be kind of moving down a cavalry-focused path. I like the army attrition minus 15%, especially in the current build of the game when supposedly attrition is going to be brutal if you don't have enough supply wagons. National manpower, so this is very cavalry focused. Alright, that's cool. We could build like strong cavalry armies. That would be kind of fun. I have a feeling the center route is going to be very naval focused. Ship damage done plus 10%. Light infantry defense is because I don't typically use a ton of light infantry except for maybe some dedicated sieging stacks when I know I'm going to be assaulting a lot of forts. Which, who knows, maybe now the better way to play is to go ahead and assault the fort if you know that you're going to take a ton of attrition sitting and trying to sieging down a fort, maybe it is best to just assault it. We have ship damage taken minus 20%, so we could really build a navy that even maybe if it wasn't numerically superior would just be much stronger. Monthly ship repair at sea. General and admiral loyalty up by. So we could potentially, because we get the plus 0.05 from the idea we took. Because we filled up all our idea slots, we get 0.02, so that's 0.07. And if we took this, we could be getting 0.1 general and admiral loyalty per month. That's great. Fort defense up by 15%. I think fort defense is really going to be a cool way to play the game now. Because, well, if you build, multiple fort levels in one city, well, then it takes more soldiers to siege down the city. It takes them longer to do it. Their assaults will be costlier. But now, for really the first time in a Paradox game, we start to see an opportunity where you could actually lose a siege, not because a new army came and wiped your army off of the territory or, away from the city gates, but you could lose a siege due to attrition, where you just take heavy losses and can no longer keep fighting in the siege and just have to retreat back home. I think fort defense might be an incredibly interesting way to play, especially if you're like a small nation. I am going to hopefully rely on my navy to make sure that Carthage is never attacked, never sieged down. But I think I actually probably will build a fort level on Carthage just to make sure. It could be just an interesting idea. Naval maintenance cost, there we go, minus 10%, perfect. And then maneuverability above all, that gives me Liburnian offense and trireme offense up by 10%. So yeah, this is a very naval-focused pathway, except there are a couple cool, like the imposing edifices, as well as the noble warlords. Those could be cool ones just to kind of break the monotony of the naval route. And then finally, I have a feeling this one's going to be very mercenary-focused. We do get the skilled recruiters, mercenary army maintenance, and recruitment cost goes down. Morale of navies, that goes up, cool. Heavy infantry offense is good. Tribute income and loyalty of subject states, that's good, although I doubt I get a ton of subject states in this playthrough. I like the idea. I like playing with subject states, as you could probably tell if you watched any of my earlier videos, especially the Tall Sicily campaign. African War Elephant, minus 15% maintenance. That's great, because I do want to build some elephants. I've really never played with in this game any big armies of elephants, so I'm excited to do that. Heavy cavalry cost minus 15%, war elephant cost, and mercenary army maintenance down. Alright, so this is kind of your standard army tree. This is your cavalry tree. This is your navy tree. We'll have to kind of decide which way we want to go. Alright, anything else? Yeah, of course there is. We have, well, they've changed the location of the recruit button. Now the recruit to army button is up here. But something else they have, if I hit the recruit to army button, I have these little donkeys. These are my supply trains. Now, they actually cost quite a bit to maintain. Not as much as heavy infantry, but they do cost quite a bit to maintain. They're going to cost, half a ducat per month, basically. I wish I could maybe get something that would reduce that cost. But apparently these things are very, very necessary if you want to have prolonged campaigns in enemy territory. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I think build one of these, maybe two of these to this army, as well as, let's go ahead and build some slingers. And I'm going to call that quits for now on the army building, at least to this army. Let's take a look at we've looked at our nation overview. Let's take a look at our government tab. Currently we have the military the military faction in control. When we have the military faction in control, we get morale of armies up by 10%, morale of navies up by 10%, and empowering the military faction costs minus 50%. That's cool. Let's, the civic faction could be good, but I think I want the mercantile faction in charge. National commerce income up by 10%. Diplomatic reputation goes way up as well. And then, well, alright, that's good, especially since we're probably going to be focusing heavily on commerce. even though right now most of our money comes from taxes, I have a feeling that will be eclipsed by commerce pretty early on in the game. As far as the religious faction, we get greater omen power, and the populist faction, we just lose political influence. I'm going to try to keep the populist faction out of power as much as possible. Let's take a look at our offices. So right now, I know immediately that unless I want the stronger omen power, unless I want the religious power in party, I'm probably going to want to go ahead and switch you out of your office, because you are going to push... Well, I mean, it says it right here. Basically, they push the Senate more towards their party, so towards the religious party. Which I don't necessarily want that. I think I want to either... Oops. I think I either want to maintain them... I think I either want, for now, the mercantile faction or the civic faction. Because I'm right now trying to build up North Africa into kind of a shining pearl. You know, I'm in that Pearl of Africa mission, so I think I want more money for that. And as Carthage, I'm going to be making tons of money anyway. Right now I'm only getting plus 4.7 gold per month, but eventually I have a feeling it's just going to be kind of insane. I would hope that I actually have a lot of things to spend my money on, because especially in the late game in this game, it just seems like everyone, from the smallest city-state to the largest empire, has, 20,000 gold, and money is no longer an issue. So hopefully the new update of the game kind of fixes some of those issues. Also, with the offices, we have this new thing called statesmanship. Basically, it's like how good they are at their job. So even though this person only has a oratory... Well, let's look at their oratory. So their oratory is 9. Effective rating of 3. Okay, because they are not a good statesman. So they don't necessarily get the most bang for their buck because they aren't great statesmen. So I've kind of seen that maybe an interesting way to build up statesmanship is to have people start out as researchers, and then you can maybe move them into the more important offices later on. At least we would think that these should be important. Let's go ahead and look at who we can get in power, specifically from like the mercantile faction. Also, these new like colored streaks, those represent like great families. You're not great, but you're at least the faction that I think I want in charge first, or maybe the mercantile faction. Alright, so I think I'm going to actually put you in charge, Juba. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that first. Uh-oh, and what have we done? We have made a family scorned. Well, that's not great, but we have helped push our Senate influence the way we want it to go towards the mercantile faction. Alright, so we have a scorned family. If their a scorned family will be... A family will be scorned if their members hold fewer than their expected share of state jobs. Alright, so let's go ahead and check this out. This is a brand new update, and that is a good way to segue into the brand new way in which the game is handling families. So instead, in the previous versions of the game, I didn't care about families at all. It was just not great how they had it running, because you ended up with just all of these families and you just didn't care about any of them at all, like whatsoever. And so you ended up just like ignoring this. I ignored the scorned families. I was like, oh, you're scorned, that means you don't like me as much. Tough cookies. Get over it, you'll be fine. But in this new version, they have great families, and then also still a long list of, characters that don't have the little color stripes next to them, and these are just, people from other notable families, of course, but not necessarily the major families in our country. So let's see, we have to go ahead and hire someone to a decent job. So you're a researcher, you are the head of the family, and it doesn't look like you do anything. So this is good. I'm already interested in the way families are portrayed. So it doesn't look like you do anything. You're Martial score is pretty decent. Now, you're a member of the military faction, so hiring you is going to push me a little bit towards the military faction, but that's okay. I think I'm going to go ahead. If I hire you to a military position, can I? Where were you? Where are you? All right, buddy. Let's find you again. What's your name? Am I missing something? He is the head of the family, but that seems to be his only gig, right? So he is Amashatart Bedona. And can I hire any of the Bedonans? Yeah, I can hire you. Alright, so you're... You know what? I'll put you in charge, and that's going to get rid of that Scorn family. And now your loyalty goes way, way up. Perfect. Alright, so this is great. I'm already more interested in the characters and the character development than I ever was in the game before. So, with that said, we have not actually unpaused the game yet. So, let's go ahead and hit the unpause button and start letting some of the plans we've laid come into fruition. I am, of course, building these little farming settlements. That is going to help me with the mission, the mission to the fruits of Musalamia. I also should go ahead and try to, I think while I have the political influence, I'm going to go ahead and create the move the provincial capital to Tharbraka. It's going to cost me 25 political influence. It's going to be okay for now. Yeah, I'll trade you some stone. Alright, I'm going to get a lot of trade offers. Forgot. I'm going to go ahead and say automatic trade acceptance, but let's go ahead and block the surplus. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and accept all of these things. Perfect. It still is going to ask me about the food items, which I do really like. So I'll go ahead and trade away some salt. That's fine, especially because as we are not currently exporting salt, we will get an army maintenance cost down by 2.5%. Let's go ahead and look. We're still making plenty of cash. I think I'm going to go ahead and move... Ooh, I have lots of offices that need to be filled. Yeah, so I have a couple navies that need people in charge, as well as an army. So we'll look to fill those. Now I get the... Alright, so I guess I like this. It looks kind of weird, but when I pause the game, now I get the pause button, or the paused indicator here, rather than down here in the corner. I will admit, there have been times when I thought the game was advancing, and then I realized that, oh wait, no, the game is actually paused. So this is good, although it is a little in the middle of... I wish it was like down here, you know? But I guess it's a little bit more noticeable, so let's go ahead and hit that unpause button. I think first things first, I'm going to try to capture the island of Sardinia. Of course, I do have actually, dedicated missions to kind of go down. So I think the next thing I need to do really is build a city in Tharbraka, and then also build a city and a fort in Besetias. So that will actually give me a bunch of citizens, which is, of course, good. Now, to build a city, I'll have to move some pops there. I'm going to go ahead and build the fort while I can. Alright, Insanity of Safet Marhabal. Alright, so Marhabal Garibaldi, or Galilidid, you know what, Garibalid, ordinarily a man of sound mind and superlative business acumen, has been acting, how should we say this, unusually. His personal advisor reports that Safet Marhabal has started slavering at the mouth, uttering insane nonsenses, even proposing marriage to each and every member of his Senate in the space of an hour. We think that he may finally have cracked. Well, that has a tendency to happen when you are in charge and so much pressure has been put on you. I am sorry, Marhabal, but it looks like you have gained the lunatic trait, so we can either say, oh dear, and then... Ooh, interesting. The lunatic trait enables some particularly unusual event options. Well, I kind of just want to hit it just to see what would happen. I could also summon the wisest minds in the land. You know what? Let's go ahead. This is definitely probably not the most efficient way to play, because really 10 gold isn't going to be that bad. But I want to see what happens with the lunatic trait. I really want to see some of these particularly unusual event options. I'm going to go ahead and hit it. We'll see what happens. It's not the most effective way to play, I guess, but you know what? We're out here to have fun, right? It's a game, after all. Some of the best parts of CK2, for instance, are when your character just up and does something crazy, like marries a horse. Alright, the civic faction and the military faction have often been at odds. Nonetheless, Imaliko Barca has approached us with an olive branch offering a limited amount of cooperation in return for a vague suggestion of a future favor. How should we respond? Alright, so we would then owe the civic faction one favor. I think I'm going to go with Splendid. They're going to be more likely to back our diplomatic favors over the next 2 years. Let's go ahead and fabricate a claim. Looks like the Senate is all aboard for that. And so we are actually losing food from Carthage at the moment, so we will definitely need to figure that out. Are there any food producing? Alright, so you make grain. So let's go ahead and, when we have the money, build a farming settlement here. That's going to help a little bit, although we will need to move some more slaves there. So yeah, we definitely have to get our food situation sorted out in Carthage. Let's also just look at some of the... Alright, so we make grain in these 3 regions. Alright, so that's actually going to be decent for feeding the rather large city of Carthage. Although, actually, we don't actually own this country, do we? I guess I'm going to go ahead and maybe put people in positions of power in the military. I'm going to go ahead and... Alright, hold on. We have another event. Tongue-tied. Addressing the good people of Carthage this morning on a matter of little importance, found himself completely lost for words. If Safet Marhabal were to intervene, we could surely earn the undying gratitude of... However, such a public display of bipartisan camaraderie would likely cause concern. Alright, so he would become our friend, and he's the head of a major family, so that's probably good. Or we could just enjoy the show, and he would lose 5 popularity. His current popularity is at 0. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and have him be a friend. Oh, looks like the treasury of someone. It seems he has gotten his hands on a lot of wealth, as he has started investing a great deal of silver into building a reputation for himself lately. Though it is unclear exactly where he found the riches, his efforts are surprisingly effective. With his increased popularity, he has started vying for a more powerful position in Carthage, shamelessly comparing himself to our Safet. Alright, so we could say he will quiet down in time, or time to share with the rest of us. We would gain some tyranny, he would lose a bunch of loyalty. He's the governor of Numidia. Alright, so he's gonna lose loyalty anyway. But he could gain 10 popularity, or we could lose a bunch of loyalty, but Carthage would get 26 ducats. You know what? Let's check. Is he getting loyalty per month? He is. You know what? Time to share with the rest of us. So we're making a little bit more money now. We're getting some farming settlements figured out. I think my very first... As soon as I get enough money, I'm going to go ahead and entice business investments. Let's go ahead and start pouring the trade routes into Carthage. Go ahead and hire someone for this navy. Who am I thinking? Alright, so I could give it to you. You're not exactly what I would call loyal because of your power base, although if I appointed you an admiral, you would actually get another 0.05 loyalty per month. So you would actually start becoming loyal. So I'm going to go ahead and put you in charge. Now, is this going to build your statesmanship? Don't really know. Oh, it changes by 0.08% per month. All right. So that's fine, I guess. Let's take a look at our researchers. Well, eventually I'll hit the technology button. So, you are actually losing statesmanship? Okay. Because it's already really high. You were losing it. Alright, so you're all losing statesmanship. Except for you, which is remaining constant. Let's look at our actual office holders. Surely you're gaining some statesmanship, right? Yeah, so because you're censor, you're getting it by quite a bit. So you're becoming very, very good at your job, basically. Okay, I like the fact that the longer they're at their job, the better they'll do at it. You are unfortunately not of my religion. That's not great. Alright, so I have a new admiral. He is, well, I guess he's actually not going to be gaining loyalty, but he's only losing it at 0.02 per month. So that's alright. Let's go ahead and place this army into... It does have those 2 supply wagons. If we hover over each of these icons, we now have this food storage icon, or food storage amount. So, like, a normal archers, they can store 2.4 pieces of food, I guess. 2.4 pieces of bread, I'll say. And then our war elephants, they can only hold 1 thing of food, whereas our supply wagons, they can hold 50. So that is tremendous. And overall, really good, I guess. So let's go ahead and just load you on some ships and get you over to Sardinia, into the city of Soki, and have you prepare for the conquest of Sardinia. And I think with that, I am going to have to go ahead and call it quits for the day. This is very exciting. We are in a brand new playthrough of the Livy update of the game with the Punic Wars DLC. I'm really excited to kind of start the game from afresh. I know I spent like the first 30 minutes of this video just kind of going over some of the new things, and that's because there are a lot of new things. Plus I was kind of going over a little bit about Carthage itself. But that's because Carthage is new to me, and there are just so many new things to do. So, I hope you're enjoying this series. I hope you join me on it. It should be a good one. It should be a long one too, because I'm going to take my time on this one. But, yeah. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Hit me up with that like button if you are. Hit me up with that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.